Welcome in, my name is Catherine. I do videos on fashion, lifestyle, philosophy, whatever I'm feeling like that day. Today, I'm going to be talking about adoption and whether or not IVF, surrogacy, or planned natural birth are ethical options in today's societal climate. What do you think? Leave a comment below. I do want to preface this video by just saying I'm making this for people who consider themselves to be moral beings and they want to leave this planet in a more ethical place than how they found it. And they do that by challenging societal norms. So that's what we're doing today. Secondly, most of the stats that I'm using in this video are going to be from America. So I will mention if I'm talking about a non-American statistic. When I proposed the topic for today, I specifically said planned natural birth. So I do want to clarify that I don't think an accidental baby would be unethical to have, of course, because at that point you don't want to take that child's life away simply because it's unethical to have kids. Like, no, I think that if it's an accidental baby, have that baby, that would be the more ethical option. But if you're planning that pregnancy, which means you're regularly scheduling the time of the month that you are most fertile, then at that point it's like, okay, well, there are kids that need you. So what really is more valuable? If you consider yourself to be that morally based person, which situation would be the ethical option? So I'd like to start by talking about the general reasons people choose a planned pregnancy, IVF, or surrogacy over adoption. I'm gonna run through all of them, and then I'll give my opposing viewpoints on them, and I'll give some good old stats, and maybe we can come to a positive conclusion that we should all be adopting. So number one, people want to continue their lineage through blood-related children. Okay. Two, they don't know the health or behavioral outcomes that a foster child may come with. Three, they want to experience pregnancy, the whole thing. Four, they don't want to deal with the welfare system. Five, they want a newborn. These next two, I can see their perspective, and these are going to be the ones I talk about the most. Six, adoption is too expensive or it takes too long. And number seven, they legally can't adopt or they have great difficulty adopting due to restrictions within the system. So number one, they want to continue their lineage through blood-related children. So I believe that this continuing of the lineage is an outdated and bigoted belief, because what stops any child of yours, blood or not, from continuing your lineage? And there's this mindset as well that's saying, well, I want to preserve my culture, therefore you need someone of that same ethnicity or a blood-related child. And I also think, again, this is where the bigotry comes in, because you can have people from any walk of life, any ethnicity, any nationality, whatever it may be, and you can place them in a culture, immerse them in that culture, and they will become a part of that culture. I feel like it's common sense, but I know this runs rampant in so many families that they want to only keep a certain ethnicity in the family, or they only want to keep blood in the family. Okay, number two, they don't know the health or behavioral outcomes that this child may have or bring into their home. So this is understandable, but at the same rate, your biological child is going to give you that same mysterious outcome as well. You're not going to know what genes are going to run through your family blood. You don't know what environmental conditions could possibly trigger that child to have, manic episodes. You don't know these things regardless of, blood relation or not. So I think this is another one of those extreme scenarios that we place into our heads when we're approached with something that's unfamiliar to us. Your child can end up anywhere on the spectrum of wild, okay? They can end up being a serial killer, or they can end up being a library nerd, all right? So we never know where our kids are going to land on that spectrum. In this instance, the benefit that adoption has over biological kids is that if you're fostering to adopt, you can get free healthcare, and you can get free therapy for the youth and for the family and for the parents. All of these things are free up until that youth turns 18. 3, they want to have a pregnancy. So this one, of course, gets touchy because people have pregnancies for all types of reasons. What I would say to that is, have you found out the reason you want to be pregnant? And have you gotten to the root of that reason? And have you asked yourself if there's a way to fill that void without bringing another life onto this planet when there are lives here today that are suffering? Is that pregnancy experience worth turning your cheek to an orphan in need? Number 4, they don't want to deal with the welfare system. The welfare system is just like any other task or sacrifice that you're going to have to make if you have kids. So I don't think this is a valid argument to not adopt a child in need. So I think I'm gonna breeze right past this one, if that's okay with you. Number 5 is that people want a newborn. Of course, you can adopt a newborn. It is harder, it takes a lot longer to get matched. But hey, if you know someone that is pregnant and cannot take care of their baby, there's also a way for you to adopt their child. There are options. But I think what's a bit concerning is that you can get another kid who's very similar in age, maybe around 3. The average age for a child in foster care is 7. So, we want to just keep in mind that the older these kids get, the less likely they are to be adopted. So you can get a young one, maybe not a newborn, but still very lovable and still able to give you that experience of a very young child. But again, this is no shade to people who want a newborn. It's just that there are options for you if you adopt. Number 6, this is where I'm going to start getting into the nitty-gritty, into the details. So if adoption is something you are interested in, maybe you should get out a little notepad or something and jot down some of this info. I'm going to break this up into 2 parts, kind of. The first being that adoptions are too expensive. And I put that in air quotes because it really depends on the type of adoption you get. Aside from that, IVF and surrogacy are definitely more expensive than adoption and natural birth, hey. But this option is, I guess, for a higher price point. First, I'll go over the average cost of having a natural birth. The average cost of pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum care for Americans with insurance is $18,865. Nearly $3,000 of that is paid for out of pocket, even if you have health insurance. Now, if you're getting a C-section, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. The average cost of a pregnancy resulting in a C-section is $26,280, of which $3,214 is paid out of pocket, including cost of pregnancy and postpartum care. So again, this is the cost for all of the doctor's appointments throughout the pregnancy and any care needed after having that baby. For home birth in 2021, the average cost of prenatal, delivery, and postpartum care came in at $4,650. I've got another fact here for you. For those without private or employer-sponsored insurance, Medicaid covers pregnancy for low-income people in every state, though eligibility criteria may vary widely. Some states even cover pregnancy through the Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIP for short. Moving on to adoption, there are different types of adoption and they vary in price as well. We can go from free up to $60,000 plus, okay? So you really do have options. The first kind of adoption is private or agency adoption. In this situation, the agency is going to do all the work for you. They're going to find you your youth and they're going to finalize all of the documents for you. This price is going to come in at about $30,000 to $60,000 plus. Again, it ranges depending on the agency you pick. The next kind of adoption is an independent adoption. So if you know someone that has a baby on the way, or you have a family in need that needs their child to be taken care of, you can opt to adopt their kid. So you're going to either hire an attorney or you're going to hire an adoption agency to finalize that adoption for you. This price point comes in at $25,000 to $45,000. The next kind of adoption is foster to adopt, FOST adopt, whatever you want to call it. And in this situation, you're going to be set up with your state's foster care agency, and you will get set up as a foster parent. You will foster a child, and then you'll be able to adopt them. Now I want to get into the details of that because that was a very simplified version of it. So first you're going to get trained. Then you'll be paired with a youth that is on the road to adoption. Now, we have to keep in mind that in foster care, the goal is to get these kids back to their biological families. So this child that's in your care now is not a guarantee for adoption. But when they are eligible for adoption, then you can start going through the process of adopting them. So in this option, you might lose access to a kid, get another kid, and then go on from there. So that does need to be noted. While you are fostering a youth, you will get a monthly stipend. So the government is paying you to help raise this kid. When it comes to adopting these children, most of these adoptions are going to be free. And if you do have to pay a small fee, so I read here, some public adoption agencies, also known as California Department of Social Services Adoptions District offices, may require you to pay a fee of no more than $500. This fee may be deferred, reduced, or waived under certain conditions. So this type of adoption should be free. So if you're looking for the most cost-efficient option, this is the one. After the adoption through FOST Adopt, you also may receive a monthly stipend to help raise this youth up until their 18th birthday. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, you're also going to be getting free healthcare and free therapy. And that therapy can be for the youth, the parents, or all of you guys. So these are all vital resources that really make this type of adoption stand out above the rest. This is accessible for so many people. So I want to highlight some key factors in FOST Adopt. When you're fostering, you'll be getting a stipend to help raise the youth. Any fees that may occur in this process could also be waived. After the adoption, up until that youth's 18th birthday, you may receive a monthly stipend. Don't forget that you also get free healthcare and free therapy services included. One thing I've also noticed being a former foster youth is that these children can and will receive lots of government aid up until they're 18 and sometimes even after the fact. They can be receiving full ride scholarships through college. Some foster youth can receive healthcare up until they're 25, I believe. You just need to look into these government services that are offered. But the point I'm really making right now is that you will receive help raising these teens, these youth, these babies, all of that. So this is a supportive system and option. And this system is not perfect, of course, but it is accessible. Lastly, I'll talk about international adoption. So this price may start at $20,000 to $50,000 plus. And you may be required to go to the country of choice and stay there for a particular amount of time. There's a whole bunch of restrictions based on the country that you choose, and I'll speak a little bit more about that coming right up. So how long does adoption take? How long does IVF take? How long does surrogacy take compared to the 12 months of natural birth? Let's get into it. All adoptions do require a home study that could take anywhere from 2 to 6 months, and that home study is good for 1 to 2 years. So depending on how long your adoption process might take, you might need to do that home study again. Adoptions can have a wide range of time frames. It can be from 6 months up to 7 years plus if you're looking for a very particular type of child. Maybe they're from a certain country, maybe they are a newborn. All these factors can really, differentiate how long you might be having to wait. Some agencies also offer what's called straight adoptions, and they're not always called that, but we'll go with that today. What happens in these situations is the parents skip over the fostering process and instead opt for adopting a child that's already eligible for adoption. So instead of having a foster youth come into your home and risk them going back to their biological parents, you can skip out on that potential, bonding and heartbreak and only opt for kids who are ready to be adopted. This could shorten your time frame, but it could also lengthen it. It really depends where you live and, again, what agency you go through and what you're looking for. On to surrogacy. Surrogacy can cost anywhere from $40,000 to $200,000 plus. And this is going to take anywhere from 1 to 3 years. There's a whole lot of vetting that goes into looking for the woman who's going to hold your child. These people do deep research into the families of these women, all types of stuff. Just look it up. It takes a long time to find that person, and then from there you need to get them pregnant, so this is a very lengthy process. On to IVF, or in vitro fertilization. This can cost anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 plus per cycle. And this does not include the price of delivering the baby. The IVF process can take 3 to 4 months from your initial consultation to the time you actually have your first beta HCG test to see if you're pregnant. Most people require 2 or more IVF cycles, averaging 2 weeks at a time, to achieve this successful pregnancy, and that number and the cost rises depending on the age of the parents. Number 7, to finish off this video, is going to be some parents are legally restricted from adopting, or they have a very difficult time navigating this system. They don't have a stable income, so they can't show that they meet the minimum requirement to prove that they can take care of themselves and this child. They don't meet the age gap requirements. So for example, in California, you must be at least 10 years older than the child you want to adopt, unless it is a family situation or something similar to that. Other countries have very particular rules on this as well. I'll post a little something for you to look at. You don't have a 2-parent household, you're unmarried, perhaps you're not in a heterosexual relationship, you have a criminal record, and lastly, you don't meet the requirements for another country's adoption policy. So let's say, for example, you try adopting with Ireland, but you don't meet their age requirement or you don't meet their marriage policy, then you won't be able to adopt one of their youth. Time for my concluding statements, just a few tidbits that I want to leave with you guys. So I do vegan activism, and one message that can blend seamlessly in that movement as well as what I'm talking about today is the concept of minimizing and reducing and hopefully abolishing harm in your life as much as practically possible. So as long as it's not ruining your livelihood, you should be trying to reduce that harm. And I think it's a beautiful message because we all want to bring peace into our lives. And in order to do that, we need to push it back out in every situation. So when it comes to this topic, I do believe adoption is the most ethical option. You can adopt kids who are orphaned in the States, or you can adopt kids who are orphaned and living in war-stricken countries. Those same children that you see having their lives and their families torn apart because of political situations in their country are the same kids that are going to need you now, tomorrow, and the next day. If you want to see a prosperous society for the adults of tomorrow, care for the children of today. Adoption can prevent homelessness, hunger, declining mental health, and instead, we can set these youth up for success. There's over 110,000 youth in the United States that are eligible for adoption right now as we speak. So if you're a person that's considering parenthood, please open up your arms and your home to a beautiful baby, kid, or teen and consider adoption. I've listed some resources down in the description below. One of them is WIC, which is a service that provides food and also, I believe, gift cards for families in need, mothers in need. There's also the CHIP, the Children's Health Insurance Program, which can help get your kid some health insurance if they do not have it. And lastly, there's a link down there for adoption loans and grants, pre and post adoption parental and family therapy, adoption directories, adoption financing information, tax credits. There are so many benefits to becoming an adoptive parent. Bless up and come again next time. Thank you so much. I really love putting some tender love and care into these videos. I do research beforehand, so if you want to support me, just go ahead and give a subscribe and a like. Hope you can share this content with somebody else so that we can start promoting adoption, which is promoting peace.